Hello, how are you doing? That's Kyra. I'm Robert. This is Evenly Yoked.
Hold on, I
And
can't say my.
today,
I can't introduce myself. Why I gotta be that Skyra?
because it's like one of those things like where,
You gotta introduce me. Like you gotta order
yeah,
for me.
yeah, like the man orders for the woman. Like she'll have the salad.
Okay.
Like,
My name is Kyra, and this is my husband, Robert Hodge. No,
or
I'm playing. Okay.
I'm Robert. This is Kyra. And we are evenly yoked.
Evenly yoked. Yes. Okay. Now that that's done.
Speaking of that exchange that we just had, we're going to talk about conflict resolution. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and we'll show you what it looked like in a second. But everybody was on there just agreeing and talking, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, hold on. Let's show them what's going on with it real quick.
Okay.
Show them what it said and tell them what it said.
Okay, so it says, me after the slightest argument. We can break up if you want. Gotta get it good.
Get closer to the camera.
Okay.
Well, you can't really see that very well. We'll work on that in the future. But essentially, what they're saying is people's like, me after every argument is that they think that you can just break up and be done with it. And and essentially, you can if you want to, but you won't wind up with any long-term relationship that way.
Right.
You're gonna wind up having a bunch of baby daddies. You're gonna wind up having a bunch of baby mamas and child support and etc.
Being lonely without someone, because I know a lot of times we say, "Oh, I don't need nobody," this and that. And I think we told our son this the other day. I was like, you don't want to be alone. You want what mom and dad have. Hopefully, that's what we're trying to show to them and what they've seen. Like we said previously, your parents been married for this long, my parents been married for this long, grandparents, it's a
both our parents been married for 30 plus years.
30 plus years, so but
we're over 13 in case you missed the last video.
Yeah, and I mean, and there is a single season, and there is, you do have to be able to be single, and being single is not a bad thing. So please don't come for me in the comments. I know sometimes that can happen. So, but yeah, you want to be able to not be lonely, and sometimes that can spun off like we were saying if you don't know how to disagree.
Right.
Because then you'll just disagree with everybody and walk away.
Right. So if you don't learn how to resolve conflicts, then you'll never be able to build community, which is what I think is the most important part of marriage. So you're not going to be able to build up a solid community. You're going to be producing children who are a burden on society. And essentially, you yourself will wind up being a burden on society as well, because you can't make it work with somebody to take care of, so that somebody can take care of you and so that somebody can be in your corner for the rest of your life.
Hold on. So you said take care of you. That goes, not to be devil's advocate, but that's both ways, right? So when we say take care of you, you're not just saying for a woman to be taken care of, right? You're also saying for a man to be taken care of too, right?
Right, but essentially, if a man is not paired when he's older, they're just gonna let him die. They're not just gonna let no woman die.
They who?
Your U.S. government will not just let no woman die. They're gonna put you on all kind of support.
But that doesn't mean that's
all.
Not
that's all aside from the point. Essentially, what we're trying to do is build communities.
Yeah.
And you can't build no community, like I said, if you don't know how to have conflict resolution. Right. Meaning that sometimes you have to agree to disagree.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to pick your battles.
Sometimes you have to pick your battles.
Right?
Because it's not always about winning.
Right. It's not always about winning.
It's not about winning.
We just had an argument yesterday.
Yep.
And you probably gonna have a few of them if you're in a relationship.
And you probably won't be able to count them all. I mean,
no, you can't count half of them.
And a lot of them, by the time you look back and you'll be like, what were we arguing about?
Yep.
Or really was it worth that And when you sit and you think about the time that you lost,
Mm-hmm.
that you could have been doing something else,
That's right.
but you were arguing, or you allowed something to get in the way, because it really starts within yourself. Because when you first have to have that disagreement or that uproar within yourself, and then you put that outward, and then that's where the argument begins with the other person. So really, you got to deal with yourself first, and realize that, okay, this is something I don't need to be, I don't need to be in an uproar about this, or like, no, don't let me think that way, things like that. Deal with that first, where everything, will not be an argument or an issue.
Mm-hmm. So is there any key points that you think that women can learn from you, as far as things that you do to be
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm
a more resolved person with your husband?
I'm still a work in progress. God is
We're
still
all
working
still a
on
work in
me.
progress, but
So
but you have 13 years of experience, so you've
I have some
learned
years of experience.
a thing or two.
Yeah, Lord, I've learned a thing or two. When it comes to arguing and how to resolve those with your husband, I think that one of the main things that we say is that we've learned is that you have to know the intent,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to know your spouse's heart.
There you
go. And that's really very important. What we had to learn is that I have to know that his intent is not to hurt me. And I'm not saying I don't forget. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I may get emotionally charged, and I may not be in the right mind frame or things like that. But when I sit and I think about it, I have to say, what is his intent? His intent is to love me. His intent, is to provide for me and to make me happy. That's his intent.
Indeed.
So, and his intent is not to hurt, even though that hurt, what he said and what he did hurt, but that wasn't his intent or his heart. So I think if you keep that at the center, that's important. And then the second thing I would say is so the intent, and then being able to look within, and then we'll be able to communicate. Is being able to communicate. So yeah, you have to know the person's intent. You have to be able to look within inside yourself and see if it's something you're battling with yourself.
Right.
And then being able to effectively communicate what you are feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that applies to everybody. I mean, we all are battling with things personally as well that you don't want to bring into a altercation with your wife or your spouse. In those situations, you want to do your best to separate yourself from the situation and try to see what they're talking about from their perspective, from their point of view.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that everything you'd have to agree on everything. Mm-hmm. You can agree to disagree. Yeah. And then you guys can move on from there. I think a big problem that we've had sometimes is that I want her to see my point of view so much, and I want it to be my way, and I want to win.
Or the highway. No,
right, it is, but a lot of times it is my way or the highway. But
no.
but in these situations, you don't want to go into an argument and feel like you have to win coming out of it, because at the end of the day, if you're winning, then that means you're married to a loser.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And now we are very competitive.
Indeed.
But we've had to learn that our competitiveness shouldn't come in with our arguments, I guess, We
want to find ways that we can win as a team. How did she get the assist and I make the basket?
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. You always want to try to find a way that she can make the assist and I can make the basket, or I get the rebound and she get the fast break.
Right.
But that's how you always want to go into all of these situations.
Yeah.
Is your argument worth it?
Is it worth it?
Are you arguing about something that's even meaningful?
Right.
Are you making a mountain out of a molehill?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you really have to, and you're one of those kind of couples that like to fight and drag shit out, drag things out all the time, then separate.
Yeah, and sometimes that's hard because sometimes one person's like, no, we gotta talk about this now.
Right. I'm real bad with that. I don't like to separate in any situation. I don't like to give no space. I don't like that. I want to talk about everything right now.
So how have you, because you've gotten better at somewhat, like if I need space, if I need the time, like, okay, give me a second, like I can't talk about this right now. How do you do that?
Well, I do that by realizing that I don't want to argue with you. So the best way not to argue with you is to not continuously have conversations with you when you're upset.
Right. Okay.
So we'll talk about it later when you have a more level mind.
Like when I'm trying to. Okay. Yeah, because I mean everybody deals differently. Yeah. And I think
because I get pissed too. But I'm never too pissed to the point where I can't think and articulate, where I can think and articulate my point and what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And before I would do that in a more aggressive way where I would yell and stuff like that. But I've gotten to a point now where it's not even. I'm not even about all the yelling or any of that either. I can think and talk about it now, but but if you don't know how to give your spouse space when you guys are speaking about these things, especially if they need some time to think and articulate, then a lot of times it's like you're creating pressure, and it's like you're putting a lid on the situation. You're making a pressure cooker out of the situation when you could just pull the pin, let all the steam out, and you guys can revisit it when it's ready.
Yeah. I know. I was trying to think about what we had learned or what we saw. Something that was about winning and losing. I forgot. No. It was something we had saw actually on Anthony O'Neill.
Well, yeah. Either way, I mean, what they were talking about that day was essentially about being winners and losers, and you don't want to make your spouse a loser.
Yeah. I know. Right? We'll have to come back to that. Maybe I'll come back to that point. But
we can elaborate on that one day.
I don't remember that point. But yeah, so.
You don't want to be married to a loser. And like we said, we're very competitive people, so we don't ever like to lose.
We're so like we compete when it comes to
let's not go down this hole because
who does the best gifts and stuff. Because I won anniversary last year.
I won anniversary like the last 4 years before that. So
hold on, last year.
So like the last 4 years before that, you did it well this year.
No.
But the last 4 years before that, at least the last 4 years before that, I beat you. And your birthday coming up, I'm about to stomp on you.
And your birthday and Father's Day was like you like it was so good. You thought your anniversary was like you oh, you was big guy, ain't nothing I can do, and then your girl just pulled out all the stops.
Anyway, her birthday coming soon. We gonna see.
Oh Lord, yes, thank
you. We gonna see her birthday coming up real soon.
It is.
Is anything else you wanted to say about this conflict resolution?
No.
Okay, well in that case we'll end the video. And just one thing on conflict resolution: always try to love, cherish, honor, respect each other.
That's right.
And then if you keep those things in mind, then all of your conflicts should resolute in a loving way.
That's right.
All right, peace.